There are things that I buy specifically for the channel where I'm like, all right, I'm going to use this for the channel. I had this great idea. I saw this set of 30. Well, it was 29. Let me explain this. They had a set of 29 pucks with mascots on them. And I thought, that's a fun idea. I could get all the mascots and use them for power rankings. So I could just have instead of having a board, I could just have all these pucks lined up, all of them in their boxes, and then just shuffle them around that way. And then for power rankings, I could use pucks. It'd be fun. And then I ordered the 30th that came out, which of course was Gritty for the Flyers when that came out. And I've had these pucks for months. I've had them since, I think I got them in January. No, earlier than that. I got them in December. It is now May. And this is the first time I've found a use for them, which is something people have been asking me to do. And I'm telling you, there are going to be people who are upset. I want to start off with teams that need to get their, you know what, together. Rangers. Notice this is just their logo because they don't have a mascot. Now, far be it for me to say that there are things that New York, biggest city in the galaxy, could find in order to have a mascot. There's lots of things they could do. I've had the idea of a New Yorker carrying a torch like the Statue of Liberty, but it's got to be a real torch. It only works if it's a real torch. Only works that way. So New York, they've got to get on it because they're the only team that don't have a mascot. They're it. That's it. Just the New York Rangers. Everybody else has a mascot. The Oilers, I've been vocal about how I think Hunter would be nightmare-inducing for me as a child, and I've been a big proponent of Oily the oil can, the idea of an oil can sprinting down the aisle, and Oil playfully falling out the top of his oil can goodness, which I think would have been fun. And I meant it as a joke, and then I saw Hunter, and I'm like, oh, it's not a joke. Honestly, I don't necessarily think Ottawa needs to change their mascot, but maybe give him a haircut or something. I don't know. Spartacat's just, he's weird, strange, and yeah, I just, a Spartan's not really gonna work, really isn't. But this doesn't, this isn't, it's not, no. And I've talked about this one. I just feel bad because Stanley C. Panther looks like the mascot that the other ones beat up. He looks like the one that Gritty probably picks on in the off season or regular season or whenever he feels like it. Crank calls him all these things. This feels to me like, and you name your your mascot Stanley C. Panther. The C, I guess, would stand for Cup, or Stanley Cat Panther. I get it. But it just, when your team hasn't got out of the first round since ever, 1996 to me counts as basically forever. I don't know. It just feels like having that in there is kind of a tease to the team and its fan base. Don't start talking about the Panthers fans right now. And then an honorable mention to every other mascot, because this is actually difficult because mascots don't talk. So it comes down to design and that kind of thing. Number 10 in the overall for what I think are my favorites. Nasher with the Nashville Predators. He has one of the largest social media followings of any mascot. There will be Predators fans that will be upset that he's at 10, but that's where I put him. He genuinely looks frightening. Again, part of what a mascot should do is look welcoming and all that. And yet, we're fun for kids. And yet, we live in a world where Gritty's a thing. Number 9, Bernie. I think what I like with what the Avalanche did here is they went with a Saint Bernard, which of course, if you're in an Avalanche, the idea was the Saint Bernard would find you, and they have the canteen around the dog's neck, which of course that's the alcohol to numb you and slow down all your body metabolisms and things so you don't die as quickly. And it's kind of a fun mascot. I like it. I do. And again, it's not It's an animal, which is kind of what most mascots are, but it's not typical, and it's not something that I don't know. I don't know what else you could have gone with Avalanche, but anyways, number 8, and I know Kings fans are going to be happy to see Bailey. Sparta Cat kind of looks like what Bailey would look like after a weekend bender in Vegas, but that's me, right? Bailey again, and I'm pretty sure he's got a larger social media following of the mascots as well. Who runs the mascot accounts? Would that just be the team, or do they actually tell the guy who's in the mascot suit, yeah, you get to run the social media account, here's the username and the password, don't give them to anybody or else you're fired or you'll end up getting thrown off a bridge? Have at her. So yeah, Bailey at number 8. Number 7, and this is totally, and I admit this is a homer pick, Finn. And being to a lot of Vancouver games, I think Finn's a fun mascot. It's something different. Again, he's been a part of the Canucks identity for decades. Part of the reason why when people say, "Oh, they got to change to New York," I'm like, New York is kind of their identity now. I know there's a lot of Johnny Canuck supporters that would like to see Johnny Canuck as the main logo, but Finn, the Orca, that's kind of their identity now, because the word Canuck is, let's just be honest, if Vancouver got a team now, they're not going to call them the Canucks. It would have been something completely different. I don't think it would have been Orcas necessarily either, but yeah, I like Finn. So he gets number 7. Number 6, Youppi. The old Montreal Expos mascot. I felt really bad for Youppi when the Expos left. And I know it's just a guy in a costume. I know it's just a suit, but I felt bad for him. Because I was like, oh, now he's at the Montreal Canadiens games. That's not where Youppi belongs. Part of the reason I'd like to see the Expos come back, I'd like to see him wearing Expos gear. I'd like to see the return of the Montreal Expos. I really wish Major League Baseball would do more to consider it. And yet, Olympic Stadium is just awful. So I get it. But Youppi, absolutely fantastic, fun mascot. Been a mascot in the mascot business for a very, very, very long time. Number 5, Harvey the Hound. And famously back in the day, way back, I remember Don Cherry ripping on Harvey the Hound and how stupid this thing was, and Craig McTavish ripped his tongue out, and that was great, and Don Cherry thought that was awesome, and he shouldn't have he was very anti-mascot at that point. I think honestly he probably still is, but he gave up that fight, just like he gave up the Carolina fight at one point in the playoffs this year. But Harvey, he's been around for a long time. People know who he is. And for that reason, some of this has to do with name recognition too. Number 4, Wild Wing. Wild Wing, I've got to say that while I was not a Ducks fan on any level for a lot of their run as a team, Wild Wing has been, the way that he comes down from the rafters, that's an iconic moment for the Ducks, going back to the Mighty Ducks. And it was nice to see that when the team became just the Ducks rather than Mighty Ducks, they didn't really change the mascot. And of course, Wild Wing is on the ugliest jersey ever produced, one that is like the holy grail of jerseys for me. The ultimate jersey to add to my collection would be the Wild Wing jersey from the mid-90s, early 90s. Absolutely hideous. And yet, here he is at number 4. Number 3, he can beat me up. Tommy Hawk. Now, Tommy Hawk, honestly, I think it's a fun mascot, and there have been talks over the years that, well, the logo for Chicago isn't really sensitive to natives, and honestly, I don't really, and I've gone through the history of the logo and everything. I don't really have an issue with it myself. I know it's not for me to say, so if they ever decide to change it, if they change it to an actual hawk, I'd be all for that. There have been mock-ups done online, logos with the hawk, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. I don't think you'd lose anything if they eventually did that, but this is about the mascot, and in this case, it is Tommy Hawk, and it's a fun mascot, and he can beat you up. He can beat you up. Number 2, and again, this goes back to when they were the Manitoba Moose, and there's Moose. And I think it's great that Moose is now the mascot for the Winnipeg Jets. That it is a callback to when they lost their team and they had an American Hockey League team, which, Manitoba Moose are still a thing. But it is nice to see him as still the mascot. That's a reminder. Don't take things for granted. So I like Moose. I do. Which means that number one has to be Gritty. And this isn't just because he could probably find out where I live and beat me up if I didn't put him at number one. It is everything that has happened over the last year, with Gritty being the most talked about mascot in sports. This isn't hockey. This is in sports. Philadelphia did a fantastic job with the unveiling, with all of it, and old codgers like me at first reacted very poorly to it, but then when all the media attention came in, I thought, you know what, this is brilliant, this is genius. And he was designed by kids. Kids designed Gritty, and that was their idea, and that was what focus groups brought up, was this nightmare-inducing mascot who you really genuinely believe could eat the other mascots if he chose to do so. And I would think that if I was at games in Philadelphia and it's in between periods and I know Gritty's coming out and he's going to be creating some havoc, I'm probably not leaving my seat. Probably going to sit there and want to see what Gritty does, which says a lot. So there you go. You guys can let me know what you think in the comment section below, as always. And if anybody's going to say, well, what about this mascot? They're all right here. I've got them all. I've got them, whether it's Nordy, the New Jersey Devil, Sabretooth, from Washington, or Slapshot, Victory Green in Dallas. I'm not doing them all. Howler in Arizona, Chance in Vegas. There's a lot of them. There's 30 of them. And there you go. Rangers, get a mascot. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video while you're browsing around the internet. And hey, you guys can let me know what your 10 favorites are in the comment section below as well, because there are no right answers and no wrong answers, just opinions. Thank you guys so much for all your support, and I'll talk to you again soon.